You ever have one of those mornings where you step outside still half asleep, coffee in hand, and your day just flips? For me, it happened at exactly 6:42 a.m., staring down at a fresh white line painted right across my driveway and a sign that screamed, "HOA access zone begins here." Someone, and I mean someone with a lot of nerve, had snuck over in the dead of night and just redrawn my property line like I wouldn't notice. And let me tell you, I didn't buy this place for the house, not even close. See the house itself. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, the kind of oatmeal-colored siding that just blends into every other cookie-cutter home on the block. Honestly, if you've seen one, you've seen 50. But the driveway, that was the hook. 40 feet long, 11 feet wide, private. Not community space, not some shared stretch with a utility easement, just mine start to finish. It was all right there on the plat map, clear as daylight. If you're thinking that sounds like a weird hill to die on, you probably haven't spent a decade drowning in right-of-way disputes and traffic studies watching people lose their minds and their money over a few inches of curb. So when I saw this place pop up on a pre-foreclosure listing flagged for irregular driveway ownership, I made an offer before I ever set foot inside. I wasn't angling for power, not at first. I just liked the idea of a little control, knowing every inch under my tires was mine, not subject to the whims of some committee or the next block party's parking overflow. I'd had enough of shared walls and dumb rules, especially after living in this one apartment complex where the HOA dinged me for a non-compliant welcome mat. Apparently, pineapples are too whimsical. Go figure. Anyway, this was supposed to be my break. I worked remote, kept to myself, ignored the block parties and the flamingo cult down the street, and I definitely didn't care about the 72-page welcome packet that showed up with bold, underlined micromanagement instructions. Grass no longer than 3 inches driveways must remain visually neutral, whatever that means. Thing is, none of it really applied to me. My lot, according to the agent and the title, was technically outside the HOA tract. The road wrapped around me, but they had no say. I was the hole in the donut. For 2.5 years, it was like I didn't exist. No dues, no newsletters, no passive-aggressive sticky notes. Then out of the blue, a cheerful mailer arrives. Community Unity Initiative, Phase 2. There's a shiny new map of the neighborhood, updated boundaries, and right in the middle, my driveway now labeled Shared HOA Access Pathway. Just like that, no vote, no knock, just a new reality. Quiet annexation. Right? One little change on a map, and suddenly they act like your space is theirs. I figured it was a clerical error until the signs went up. Real literal signs, HOA vehicle zone. Unauthorized parking subject to fine. I stood there squinting at my own driveway, realizing I was officially the enemy. That's when Douglas French strolled in, clipboard and Bluetooth headset, all suburban authority, handing me my first violation printed on this hideous yellow card with the HOA's logo, a smug little tree in a circle. Notice of non-compliance vehicle placement outside designated perimeter. Perimeter. My truck on my own drive, somehow obstructing community flow. Mind you, I live at a dead end. The only flow is mine. At first, I thought maybe some newbie board member was trying to impress someone, so I walked over to Douglas's place. He's standing there watering an already soaked lawn, looking like the world's saddest scarecrow. I hold up the violation and he goes, "It's just a formality, Mason. The community is evolving. We've got new mapping guidelines." Then he starts in with all this ingress path lingo, insisting my driveway is now part of their shared network. I point out calmly that my title deed says otherwise. He smiles tighter, like I'm being cute. "Look, no one wants a conflict. Just keep your truck closer to the garage and we won't escalate." There it is. Harmony HOA code for fall in line. I didn't argue. I just parked where I always did and waited. 3 more violations rolled in that week, each one for something dumber than the last unwashed pavement, a trash bin out for 3 minutes, a dusty old bike rack. They'd invented a whole suite of fake bylaws just to harass me. I checked. My parcel wasn't even listed in the original CC plus and Rs, but that didn't matter. Douglas had already slipped my property into their shiny new digital rules. Next thing I know, there's a landscaping crew measuring my driveway, spraying orange X's, no notice, just marching around like they own the place. Then came the letters 6 all identical, all hand-delivered, sealed like wedding invitations. Notice of progressive enforcement, step 2 of 4. For what spatial dominance behavior? I mean, come on, that's not even a real thing. But they weren't kidding. They threatened corrective access procedures if I kept resisting. I'm not sure if I was more angry or just impressed by their creativity. Things only got weirder. Kids lounging at the edge of my driveway. HOA access signs multiplying like mushrooms, my curb painted HOA gray. When I complained to the city, they shrugged. Civil matter. The HOA started moving my trash bins, stacking them politely on the neighbor's lawn just to let me know they were watching. Then a new character enters Patrice from the landscaping subcommittee, inviting me to join the autumn unity sweep and marking my driveway as Zone A for priority trimming. Like I was a weed they meant to pull. But none of that compared to the morning I found Douglas's car blocking my driveway cones and reflective tape everywhere, a sign declaring temporary closure for safety inspection, and Douglas himself perched like a movie villain, clipboard on the windshield, coffee on the hood. I told him flat out, "You're trespassing. This is private property." He tried that designated ingress nonsense again. The board voted last week to recognize this as critical infrastructure. I told him I'd rather gargle thumbtacks than sit through one of their meetings. That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't about a truck or a welcome mat. They were erasing my map 1 inch at a time. So I stopped playing nice. Blew up the property survey to poster size, highlighted every inch in red, marched it straight over to the HOA office, which, by the way, is literally just a bedroom in some ranch house with a cheesy "Community Starts With You" banner. The secretary, Diane, looked like I'd just dropped a bomb in her lap. "You'll want to talk to Mr. French," she muttered, as if I was a bridge out on the highway. So I mailed Douglas everything title deed, plat, old CC, Plouch, and R's the lot. 2 days later, I get a letter not from Douglas but their lawyer. 3 pages of legalese and made-up terms like neighborhood access systems and threats of physical remediation. That's lawyer speak for "we'll come fix it ourselves," which is a wild way of saying we'll trespass again. At this point, I call the county. The guy on the phone chewing something laughs and says, "Yeah, this happens all the time. If it's deeded to you, they can't touch it unless you granted easement rights." Called the sheriff too, and he says as long as it's marked and there's a complaint, they'll treat it as trespass. So I put up the biggest damn no trespassing sign you've ever seen, county code case number the works. Next morning it's ripped out and left against my door, snapped in half. Not subtle. I show up to the next HOA meeting, toss the survey map on the folding table. This is my line. You don't cross it. Douglas gives me the ownership is a legal construct. Cooperation is a community construct speech, and I just tell him, "Cool. Then let's see what happens when you lose access to the only road out of here. See that driveway? Only way to the HOA clubhouse, the pool, the south gate. They just lost their shortcut." I figured I'd made my point. Then I get a call from Connie Frazier, ex-HOA secretary, who tells me, "Have you found the file?" Long story short, she's got proof. Douglas has been folding in outlier parcels for years, slowly boosting the HOA's land count to get more clout with the city for zoning and funding. My driveway, the linchpin for a luxury townhouse development with traffic plans already submitted to the city using my property as a shared ingress easement, never granted, never recorded. But here's the kicker buried in the original plat from 1982 was a settlement clause. If the HOA ever tried to reassert authority over my lot, I could revoke all shared use privileges, period. No driveway, no path, no nothing. I wasn't just a problem, I was a time bomb. That's when I went nuclear. Bright orange boundary stakes, reflective tape, removable bollards set in concrete laminated private access, only signs with the sheriff's case number, even the original plat language about revoked privileges. Connie co-signed a legal notice, we filed it at the county, and I mailed certified copies everywhere: Douglas, the city, the developer, every homeowner on the list. I posted the whole thing to the neighborhood forum, why you might be losing your shortcut to the south gate. It blew up, neighbors furious, not at me but at the HOA. Turns out, Douglas had been lying to them, pitching the expansion as a done deal. I wasn't done. I invited a reporter over. She took photos, ran a headline: HOA expansion collapses over illegal driveway grab. Next thing I know, the HOA's lawyer is begging to talk. Too late. I was the guy who nuked their project with a stack of old deeds. I dropped the first bollard at 7:03 a.m. on a Tuesday, just as folks were leaving for work. By 7:30, my phone blew up. Neighbors confused, annoyed, but a lot of them quietly on my side. Turns out plenty had felt the squeeze of Douglas's petty power trips. Halloween inflatables, garden boxes, even colored fences got flagged. Now I'd given them a villain. Douglas tried to spin it, sent a community update about a clarification process. I hired a real lawyer, sent a cease and desist, filed a complaint with the state HOA board, and requested all the city records on the project. Within a week, the city shut the whole thing down. Builder walked away. Planning Commission started an investigation. Douglas's grand townhouse plan, dead on arrival. At the next board meeting, I got up and said, "For a group obsessed with boundaries, you really didn't think I'd defend mine." I demanded retraction of all violations written, acknowledgement of my exemption and Douglas's resignation. Someone started clapping. The board folded. Douglas walked out, folder in hand, never looked back. The fallout. The local paper roasted him. Connie gave the whole story: how Douglas bullied the board, signed private deals for a cut of the developer's money, used HOA funds for consulting work. By the time the dust settled, half the board resigned, insurance rates shot up, and neighbors started a petition to dissolve the HOA entirely. Last I heard, they were 14 signatures away. Funny thing, after all that noise, the neighborhood's quieter than ever. The bollards are still up. Most days I leave them locked, not out of spite, just because I can. The new HOA president, Ben, actually came by to introduce himself. No clipboard, no pamphlet, just a handshake, and honestly, I don't blame you. Now even neighbors who used to glare wave when they pass. Some ask me for advice about their property lines. Turns out standing up makes you the unofficial land rights guy. And that empty lot, just gravel and weeds now. Sometimes I sit on my porch, coffee in hand, and watch cars take the long way around. Adds 45 seconds to their commute, maybe. But every time someone drives by and catches that sign, private access, no trespassing, I can see the recognition in their face. They tried to redraw my lines. I rewrote the rules. So yeah, that's how it went down. I didn't yell, didn't sue, I just held my ground literally, and now I finally have what I came for. So let me ask you, where do you stand on this kind of fight? When does a community go too far, and when is it just a neighbor doing what's right? Drop your take below, because I guarantee someone's got a story just like mine.